Alrighty, my friends, welcome to video lesson number 3. In this lesson, we're going to be discussing basic audio mixing, and we're going to use the sample montage project I have here as our working example for this lesson. So the first thing that I want to do is look at the audio that I have here. Now, number one, I've got a music track on audio track 1 here, and then I've got a couple of natural sound tracks on tracks 2 and 3. Now, if you look over to the left here in the patching area, you can see that I have my tracks labeled. MX for music, Nat1 for the first Nat sound track, and Nat2 for the second. And then I've also got an SFX1 down here for some sound effects that we're going to put in later in the lesson. So in order to label these tracks, all I have to do is right click on where it normally says audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, and choose rename, and that allows me to change the name to whatever I want it to be. In this case, I just typed MX, Nat1, Nat2, and SFX1. Okay, so I'd like you guys to do that in your projects. Label your tracks. It helps you to more easily keep track of the audio that you've got on every one of the different levels. So, moving on, what I want to do is, first of all, determine the level of the main audio in the project here, which happens to be music for this montage project. So what I'm going to do is solo that track. I'm going to click the little S here to solo it, so I only hear my music and I don't hear this Nat sound down here that comes in at various points. So, let's listen. Okay, so right off the bat I can hear that the music is quite loud, and if I look at my meters I can see it's peaking just in this beginning part, which is pretty mellow, around the -3 mark. And for the purpose of this class, I want you guys to try and mix to the -12 level, right around here. Your audio can be a little bit over, and it can vary in different levels underneath, but I would like it to live around -12 for the loudest audio that you have in your projects. So if I go forward in this song to where the music really kicks in here, you'll see just how aggressive this audio is. Look at that, you can see it peaked out. It went above 0. It just hit the very top of the meter here. That's not good, we don't want that. And then actually when the bass kicks in later on, it gets even louder. You can see it peaked out on both sides on that one. So what I want to do is drop the overall level of the waveform itself here. Yes, I can use the level bar here to change the level, but I think it would be more effective to change the waveform itself. So what I'm going to do is select both of my clips of audio in the track here, because I did make an edit, so I'm going to lasso and select both. And then I'm going to hit the G key, which launches this audio gain window here. And I'm going to use the adjust gain by option here. And I'm going to type in -12 because I was peaking right around 0. So if I drop the level by 12 dB, I should be around the -12 range. Hit OK. And look, you can see the audio waveform has reduced. If I undo, see how strong it was before? Redo. And that's Shift Command Z to redo. You can see it drop down significantly. Now let's play in the strongest part of the song, see what we have. Looks like we're peaking around -12 there. That's pretty good. But now, at the beginning of the song where the audio was weaker to begin with, let's see what we've got. Not too good. I want to raise that up. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use what are called keyframes. So what I'm going to do is change the audio level at specific points in the song by using keyframes. So a keyframe is basically telling Premiere that at a specific point in time, I want something to be a specific value. An audio level, maybe a certain characteristic of an effect, say blurriness, for example. The amount of saturation I'm using when I'm doing color correction would be another example. So keyframes, they are values at a specific point in time. So to enter an audio keyframe on the level bar here, I'm going to go and get the pen tool. And you can see the shortcut for that, the keyboard shortcut is P, so that's what I'm going to use. And now I've got my pen tool. I'm going to move my playhead over here, zoom in a bit, and play in the stronger part of the song here. That's pretty good. So in this weaker part, I want it to be raised up. So I'm going to place a keyframe here at the stronger part. I want it to be about regular strength here, but in this portion, I want it to be a lot stronger. So I'm going to place another keyframe over here and raise that keyframe up. Now I can click and hold and drag that keyframe up, but another way to do that is to select the keyframe and then use either the right or left bracket keys to raise or lower that level by 1 dB at a time. So if I hit the left bracket, it drops by 1 dB. If I hit the right bracket, it raises by 1 dB at a time. And I'm going to go up about 5. Zoom out. Play through again. See what we've got here. That looks pretty good. Yeah, now we're peaking around -12 where we want. A little bit over, and that's okay. I think I'm going to raise this one just slightly, maybe 1 dB there. And then let's get into the stronger part of the song here. I think I might drop that down by 1. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, place another keyframe here. Before I get to the level where I want it to be down, I want it to smoothly drop over time, so it's not so noticeable, not a sudden drop. And what have I got here? About 2-3 seconds for it to move from one level to another. That helps it to be a little less noticeable. 13, 17, high 13s to 17. That's about 3 seconds, a little over 3 seconds. So that's a good rule to go by. Now at the end here, let's hear what we've got there. It's a little low, so I'm going to select that area. And I don't even need a keyframe for this because I want to raise the level for the whole clip. So I can have that selected and hit the right bracket key to raise it by 1 dB. There we go. Play through again. Nice. Peaking at -12. Little over. That's good. Maybe the last two should come down a bit. So again, I'm going to go before I want them to be a little bit lower. Then place that second keyframe where I want them to be lower. Hit the left bracket key. Drop it down by 1. Play through again. Dropped it down a bit. That's great. That's great. So now we've mixed our music. You can see we start out higher on this end, transition down over a period of about 3.5 seconds to the stronger portion of the song here. And then the main portion with the bass, we transition again down another dB over a period of about 2-3 seconds. Then we raise back up here at the end for the first 2 of these pulses. And then the last 2 were a little bit stronger. So again, we transition down by about a dB over another 3-second period before those happen. So you can see how we've effectively mixed the music. Now what we want to do is look at our Nat sound. So I'm going to remove the solo and play through and listen to this Nat sound along with the music. Nice. ocean there, a little underwater, waves sizzling on the beach there. Okay, so you can see I've done some mixing down here too with my NAT sound. So I'm going to reduce the size of my music and increase the size of my NAT sound tracks here. Zoom in a bit more so you can see a little bit better what I've done. So on this first clip of the forest here, you can see the audio waveform gets larger over time, and this is because there are some birds in here that get excited. All right, so if I solo this, you can hear these birds get excited towards the end of the clip. See, there's more chirping in there. And what I did was I dropped the level of the clip over time with, again, some keyframes as these birds became excited to counteract the fact that the audio gets a lot stronger, so that over the duration of the clip, we have an even audio level experience. Maybe, you notice the birds get a little bit louder, but not much, because I've mitigated that with these keyframes on the audio level itself. Same thing over here. On this clip, instead of the reason being that the birds got stronger, instead I used a transition here, a dip to white. I wanted the audio to sort of accentuate that fact and reduce in strength as the screen turns to white. Okay? So you can see the level drops over time as that transition happens. Let's listen to that. It's subtle, but it does happen. And that is a point that I want you guys to understand. Audio mixing quite often is about subtlety. It's not about doing things that are jagged and bold. Yes, that is called for sometimes, especially in an action film. You've got explosions, you've got gunshots, you've got, extreme things happening. But when you're mixing a soundscape, especially in a natural scene, you're going to want to have things occur in a very subtle way instead of extreme, sudden changes. Okay? So let's look at the next little piece that happens here. And that has to do with the ocean, then this underwater scene, and then the beach. Okay? So I'm going to solo just both of the NAT tracks here, and you can listen to what happens as we transition through these different shots here. You can see we're transitioning in sound as well. Okay, so the ocean comes in, and then as the ocean is dipping out here and this cross dissolve is happening, visually we're changing from one location to another. Well, we're going to do that sonically too. So as the ocean drops out here, the underwater comes in here. And you can see I've got the keyframes rather low here. I'm even going to bring this lower and this one a little bit lower. And I'm going to bring this one back a little bit. Now, when you want to move a keyframe left or right, you can just grab it and move it, but it's very easy to accidentally drop or raise the level when you're doing that. So if you want to keep that keyframe even as you're moving it left or right to change the timing of it, you click on it and then hold down the Shift key and then move left or right, and it's very easy to keep it very even, okay? So now let's play through and listen to the transition away from the ocean into the underwater scene and watch as this dissolve occurs from one location to another. Pretty smooth. Now let's kick in the music and listen to everything at once. Nice. Very cool. And you can see on the tail end of this scene, we've got another dissolve going from underwater to the beach. And that is again echoed down here in the audio realm as the underwater dips out, the sizzling waves on the beach ramp in, and then they ramp out towards the end, as we dissolve from the beach to this parking lot time lapse here. Okay? And the timing is roughly the same. And that's important to consider, that you want what's happening visually to be more or less echoed sonically with your audio mix. Make sense? Cool. Now you can also see I've got a bunch of crossfades on the clip boundaries of every one of these clips that I've thrown into the timeline here. There is a reason for that. So keeping in the vein of subtlety, it's very jarring to us humans to hear audio just cut in all of a sudden. So what we like to do as audio mixers is soften the arrival of that audio with a very short crossfade. So this crossfade here is only 5 frames long. You can see if I double click, it opens up the set transition duration dialog box, and you can see it's only 5 frames long. And you can also see that that transition actually spans the cut from one clip to another. So as we're leaving this sunrise over the city and going into the forest, that forest gnat sound actually starts to occur just before the cut. And that is a sound mixing trick. Okay, and you'll see that very often. So if I take off this crossfade and listen to the audio of the forest coming in, you'll hear it cut rather harshly. Just all of a sudden starts. Listen to it soloed. It's very, very sudden. So if I put that crossfade back on, 5 frames. Now listen to that transition. Nice, softened, smooth, subtle. It doesn't draw attention to itself. And that's one of the keys in all of editing, not drawing attention to what you're doing. It's the invisible art after all, right? Okay. So I'm zooming out with my backslash key to reveal my entire timeline at once. And now I'm going to play through this just to check my mix one more time. You know, I think that ocean's a little strong right there. So I'm going to select that clip and zoom in a bit here. And what I'm going to do is drop down the entire keyframe array here. So with the clip selected and not any particular keyframe selected, if I hit the left bracket, it will drop down all of them. Okay, so the entire level comes down. I dropped it by about 3 dB there. Let's listen again and see if that softens it, mixes it in a little better. Yeah, I think that works rather nicely. Okay, so we mixed the level of the music first of all with that soloed, and then paid close attention to each of our gnat sound clips here, and then mixed them in to make sure that they were balanced with the music so that the entire experience comes off as a nice, even, balanced mix. Now what I want to do, as I alluded to earlier, is put in a sound effect. So what I'm going to do is throw in the sound of some cars on this time lapse here of traffic moving through this downtown area. But I'm going to alter the sound of the traffic so that it sounds a little extra special, a little different, not like the sound that you would actually hear in the scene, because this is a time lapse. So I want it to sound a little bit special, sped up, commensurate with what I'm actually seeing. So what I'm going to do is go over to my project panel here and check out this traffic that I downloaded from Freesound. Okay? Double click on the clip, open it up in the source monitor, and you can see I have an endpoint here for part of it that I like. Hitting Shift-I to go to that endpoint. Playing forward, let's listen to this traffic. Okay, that's cool. So what I'm gonna do is edit that down to my SFX1 track. So I'm gonna patch A1 to A4 down here, A1 representing the source, A4 representing the destination on this SFX1 track here. And I want that clip, starting where I have placed my in here, to be edited down into the timeline and only span this clip here of the downtown traffic time lapse. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is select the clip and use the / key to mark that clip with an in and an out. There we go. Quick and easy. / key. So now I'm gonna edit down my traffic. And there it is in the timeline. And totally unmixed. Doesn't have any crossfades at the clip boundaries, but let's just listen to it. Okay, so number one, as I said, it's not mixed, but it's also not really commensurate with what I'm seeing. It doesn't sound removed from reality, special enough, like a sound effect. So what I'm gonna do is use a speed effect to alter it. So if I select the clip, right click, and go to speed duration, I'm gonna change that to, instead of 100% being real speed, real time, I'm gonna speed it up quite a bit, by 500%. Now you can see that same duration of the clip now takes up a lot less time in the timeline. So I'm gonna stretch that out so that it actually covers the downtown shot. And now let's play through it again and hear what we've got. Sounds kind of cool. Okay, so let's mix this in. First of all, at the transition between these two clips, I want to do what I've done up here with this short little crossfade. And I want to have the crossfade for my traffic happen at the same time as the crossfade out of the forest. So I'm going to stretch the clip over just a little bit more here and then copy this crossfade. I could put a whole new one on, right click, hit apply default transitions, double click on it, change the length to 5 frames, but that's a lot of steps and a lot of time. I would rather just select this one, Command C or Control C on the PC to copy it, select the clip boundary and Command V or Control V, and look at that. Simple, quick, easy. I'm gonna do the same thing on the tail end here. Zoom in, stretch it out, copy, paste. Look at that, now they overlap each other perfectly. Now the level is too high, so I'm gonna drop it down. I'm gonna try, I don't know, 6 or 8, let's try that. Hear how that mixes in. Still a little bit hot, bring it down a few more. There we go, now it's mixing in. Okay, so now that I've sped it up, I like what it's doing. It sounds removed from reality, it sounds like a special effect, but I think it's a little too high pitched, okay? Now there is a difference between pitch and level. Level is what I'm doing with the level bar here. That's the actual volume of the clip. But the pitch is how high or low the sound is. How high the sound is or low the sound is. So I want to change the pitch of this clip so that it's not so high. So I'm going to go to my effects panel, the little right arrows here on project panel, go down to effects, and I'm going to type in the search field here, pitch. And I'm going to get the pitch shifter effect, drag it over, drop it onto the clip, make sure the clip is selected, and go to the effect controls up here, the effect controls panel. And you can see the pitch shifter is now applied. I'm going to click the edit button here, and I'm going to drop the pitch of this clip using the semitones control. Semitones are much larger graduations of pitch change than the cents are, okay? So I'm going to drop this down by going to the left, maybe 8 semitones. And then I'm going to choose high precision, which makes it sound better, higher quality. And then the pitch settings, I'm going to check the use appropriate default settings radio button here. And you can see it automatically assesses what is necessary in the pitch settings to make that clip sound the best it can at 8 semitones dropped. So now let's listen to that again. Okay, so if I turn it off, you can hear how high it was before. Turn it back on, and you can hear the difference between the two. Higher, lower. I like that a lot, actually. Okay, so I'm going to stick with that. Okay, zooming out. Now I've got everything. Music, nat sound, sound effects, all mixed for a very pleasing audio experience. And that's audio mixing, using gain, keyframing, and controlling the level bar with the right and left bracket keys. All the while keeping our eyes on the meter, making sure that we're adhering to whatever max level that we're supposed to achieve, and most of all, relying on our ears to make sure we have a pleasing and subtly balanced, even mix. Well, that does it for video lesson 3, my friends. I'll see you again for video lesson number 4.